Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
the ordinance of said city of Mitchell,
and the ordinance of said city of Mitchell,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
perform all the duties of the office of Human Resources Director.
perform all the duties of the office of the Human Resources Director. Thank you, Mayor.
I feel like I'm struggling a little bit, and that's because I am. My prescription glasses were broken over the weekend, so I've got some Walmart glasses here, and Stephanie was so kind as to really give me a super font size for the meeting tonight, so hopefully I can get through this.
Walmart's are the best though.
Really? Yeah. Next thing on the agenda is action to approve my recommendation for committee appointments. You're all given a list of 3 by 70 in your packet of the current membership and my recommended appointees.
Mayor, I had a chance to look over these, and I wondered if you could maybe give us some rationale for some of the changes that you made. I note that you highlighted the withdrawal of appointment. It says whenever the mayor shall deem it as an explanation of how this happens, Stephanie showed us that whenever the mayor shall deem it in the best interest of the city, the mayor shall have authority to withdraw any previously made and approved appointment. And so I guess my question is, we have some outstanding citizens of our community who have not completed the terms that they were given, and I'm wondering how they are not, how it's not in the best interest of the city to keep them in these positions.
I did realize that this was going to come up for discussion, and I did have a long list of applicants I wanted to serve in various committees. This is not an issue that I did not anguish over for a long, long time, and after many hours going over this list. And I read that statement about the mayor deeming it in the best interest of the city. And when I made my appointments, I really do believe that I did pick the people that I picked that would serve in the best interest of the city of Mitchell. And as you pointed out, it says that the mayor shall have the authority to withdraw any previously made and approved appointment, and the appointment of any such person shall be terminated upon such withdrawal of an appointment by the mayor. It's my prerogative to make those appointments, and I exercise that prerogative. I think I do have the best people on the committees that I've selected in the best interest of Mitchell.
I'm wondering if you could if we could go through some of these, and could you justify to us why some of these were removed? My list of questions is extensive. I would start with the Lake Committee and why you would say Mike Blawled, who was just recently appointed as the committee chair of that committee, that Mike Blawled has a degree in conservation and wildlife. I mean, I can't think of a more perfect person to serve in that capacity. He's young. We need people who are younger to be involved in our community. We have this outstanding resource, and you're pulling him out. Can you explain that?
I do appreciate your comments and your opinions, Susan, I really do. And I don't personally know Mike Blawled. I have nothing against Mike Blawled or any other committee member that I removed from any of these committees. Again, I anguish over these names. I have a long list of names, and I really feel, some of the people that I'm looking at for appointment to this committee, I don't think it's any secret that my priorities, or one of my 3 priorities, is Lake Mitchell. And I do want to keep up Lake Mitchell, and I'm looking at all the way up to Firesville Creek, first to Western Springs. Some of the people I'm looking at on this committee but own land along the trek. One such example would be
Gary Busmus.
Pardon?
Gary Busmus.
Gary Busmus. He owns land here, right at the source of the lake, I mean, right at the mouth of the creek that flows into our lake. Another person I'm looking at is Chad Nemick. He takes care of a lot of the land for his stepfather, Hardy Kelly, and has land further up the creek. Another person I'm looking at, and he would have to be an ex-official member, and I'm looking at Jeff Bird. Is up by Western Springs, has a lot of land up there. I'm looking at attacking this creek problem that feeds these nutrients into our lake at the beginning and at the end of the creek run. And I think by getting these people involved in this committee, it's very crucial for the city of Mitchell to create these buffer zones and get these people to buy into what we're trying to do to clean up the creek. Because I think, there's been a lot of talk about draining Lake Mitchell, and I'm not saying that I'm for it, I'm not saying I'm against it. I think all options need to be on the table. It's a very expensive option. I want to certainly entertain other possible, less expensive options in draining the lake.
Okay, well, right now, I think that's great, but let me present something to you. So I happened to be at Brian Temple's house the other night, and I said to him, Brian, so what's the latest with the lake committee? And he said, oh, well, I told the mayor that I wouldn't, that I really didn't have a lot of time, that I work many nights, my work's going to have to take priority. I'm just stating what he said to me, Brian Temple, and I said, oh, so I called him today. I said, Brian, did you know that you are being appointed to the lake committee? He said, I am. Oh, well, I'm happy to serve, but I didn't even realize that. I guess, Brian's a great guy. He's happy to serve. But I look at some of these other people that you're removing who were on the committee. I can respect the need to have people. I think having someone like Gary Busmus on there is a fabulous idea. But I really hate to see us pulling some of these people out who have just been appointed, who haven't even finished their term, and saying they don't get a chance to finish their term. Why can't we wait and you can appoint your new people when their terms are up?
Well, those terms are coming up 1, 2, 3 years down the line, at least 2 years, I think a couple of them are. But again, I don't want you or anyone else to think that I have any other agenda than the best interest of the city of Mitchell at heart here. That's why I picked the people I picked. It was my prerogative to pick those people. It was my prerogative to pick the people that I picked. And I really do believe, in my opinion, I respect your opinion, Susan, I do. I understand what you're saying, but I really believe that it was crucial for me to pick people that live along this creek, Firestill Creek, in order to solve the problem that's been a long-standing problem for many, many years. Let me finish, please. But I want to make sure that we attack this problem aggressively, that we get people on the committee that will devote the time and the effort to it, that have a vested interest in making sure that the creek is cleaned up, that our lake is clean. This is what the people of Mitchell want. This is what I want. And these are the people that I picked. This was my prerogative, and I'm going to stand by that. That I think that, in my opinion, these were the best people for the committee. If I could go back and I could say, okay, we got a 7 or 9 member committee, I would be happy to keep them all on there. I really would. If we could increase the size of the committee, I wouldn't have any problem with that. But I had a very difficult decision to make, and that was to who am I going to put on and who am I going to take off. And that was the decision I made. And I don't want to get into a personality thing as to why I took off, who I picked off or took off, but I looked at the list very extensively. I gave it a lot of time. I spent a lot of hours working on this list, and I in the end, this was the decision that I made. This is the decision I'm going to stick by. Well,
I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to have a hard time supporting your new appointees, without having any kind of an explanation on, because there's an argument that could be made that you're implying that these other people are not looking out for the best interest of the city.
No,
can we change to the Lake Committee now? Can we from the Lake Committee to Park and Rec?
Well, before we leave the Lake Committee, I guess I just would like to offer something. If you left Mr. Blawlid and Mr. Patzer on, you still have 2 vacancies because the committee can go to 9. Mr. Temple has indicated that he's willing but unable really to serve. So if you took him off the list, and in 2016, your other appointment would be on, it would be a way to expand the committees without, without exceeding the limit. And yet honor the idea that, we have a difficult time getting people to volunteer, which is one of the reasons why there's the same people on committees all the time. I mean, I just offer that for consideration.
And, I look at your list of the Lake Committee. You've got Joe Kippis, whose term expired in 2012. You've got John McLeod, whose term expired in 2013. Am I correct in saying that John McLeod does not live in the city limits of Mitchell?
Does he not live in the city? Yeah, he lives in town.
John McLeod does?
Well, he's got a home out at Lake Mitchell.
He has a cabin.
I'm aware of that,
but
yes.
That's not his permanent residence, is it?
No, it's not. His permanent residence is
Yeah,
in town.
I just feel like maybe there are some other options. There are some people whose terms have expired. You could keep some of these other ones on that still are serving active terms.
Susan, I understand what you're saying, but like I said, I anguished over this list for many, many hours, and I appreciate what you're saying, and you are entitled to your opinion. I have my opinion. I've made my decision. I'm going to stand by it.
We talked about the Park and Rec Board. I noticed that Greg McCurry, a man with young children who are active in the soccer program, he was a former city council person. He's the liaison with the soccer teams to the Park and Rec Board because his kids are active in soccer. You would pull him with 2 years left on his appointment, on his term, and put in some people that don't have children, who, I'm not sure, can you kind of talk to us about your rationale on the Park and Rec Board?
Same answers I gave you on the Lake Committee, Susan.
Well, the Lake Committee, you had a specific, it seemed
Well, are you talking specifically why I removed Greg McCurry, or are you talking about all four of the people that are taken off that committee? I mean, we
well,
talking about
Greg
all four.
McCurry does jump off the page at me, but I'd also be interested in why Joe Kramer is being pulled off, and
The other one's terms have expired, so.
I know it. And Joe Kramer, I know Joe Kramer. I mean, of the four people whose appointments that I removed, two of them I don't know. Two of them I do know. And two of them that I do know are actually friends of mine. But again, it goes right back to me taking an appointment and picking people that I thought would have something to contribute to that particular board. That's why I picked who I picked.
so if you're asking me to
I don't think it's a bad
support
problem.
your new recommended appointments, can you kind of give me some idea what the qualifications are of the four Park and Rec people that you are proposing that we support?
Which one would you like to start with?
Well, we can start at the top. Tell me about Brian Johnson. What does he bring to the table?
Brian Johnson brings to the table because he served on the committee before, and I've liked what Brian Johnson has done in the past. I've supported what he's done in the past, and I think he can bring those same attributes and qualifications back to the Park and Rec Board. That's why I picked Brian.
Okay, and then you've got your sister-in-law, Jean Keeler.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Jean Keeler has been on a lot of different boards. She's currently just
I've served with her.
was recently appointed to the Board of Trustees, I believe, at Vera Queen of Peace Hospital. She's also an attorney by profession, and she has served on many committees throughout the.
And what does she bring to the Park and Rec Board?
I think her experience of both legal as well as her experience on serving on all the various committees. She knows a lot of people in Mitchell. I think she could exert a lot of influence as to decisions that could be made in the Park and Rec Board.
And I think that the same could be said for someone like Greg McCurry.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong either, Susan, with injecting new ideas and new blood into different committees. Same thing, same reason why different committee members or city council people are moved around to different committees to give them the experience and the insight into the various committees, whether it's sitting on the same committee year in, year out. I don't think there's a thing wrong with injecting new ideas and new blood into the committees. And that's why I picked the people I picked.
Can you tell me about Mary Jepson?
I just think Mary Jepson is a type of a person. I've known Mary Jepson from when I worked at the hospital with Mary. I know her very well. She's got some very good ideas, in my opinion. I like what she has said to me and as to what some of her ideas are. And she's vocal. She'll say what's on her mind. She's not going to sit back and just sit there. And I think she's going to participate in those committees, meetings. She's going to show up and she's going to be at every single one of them. I really believe that. And I think she's got a lot to offer and a lot to give to that committee.
And just to round it out, you can tell us about Randy. You want to tell us about?
You know, I've known Randy for a few years, and Randy, he's a very intelligent human being. I like Randy. He's good. He came to me. He asked to serve on the committee. He came to me several times and said, "Can I please be on that committee?" He wanted to be on the committee. I like Randy's ideas too. Some of the ideas that he brings to that board. And again, I don't want to get into personalities as to why I picked him because of this personality or that personality. I simply picked the people that I think is going to serve on this committee. And again, it was my prerogative to pick the people that I picked. And I wrote letters, just to clarify things. I didn't just chop these people off at the legs and say, you're not going to be on the committee anymore. I wrote them what I felt to be very, very nice letters, respectful letters. I told each one of them that this was not an easy decision for me to make. But I do want to place members of my choice to serve on this committee, which is what I'm telling you tonight. I also believe that it is advantageous to inject new members from time to time in order to promote new and different viewpoints.
You've got new members that have served for 1 year, that have great ideas and great viewpoints and bring great things and experience to the table.
That's your
You're
opinion,
not-
Susan. You have your opinion, I have mine, and that's the only point I'm trying to get across to you. And I told these people, I said, I thank you for your contributions, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your efforts through serving in this committee and making our community a better place to live in. I hope that your contributions have brought you personal benefit and satisfaction for having served. I meant that sincerely. Again, it just goes back to, I picked the people that I think that I want to serve in these committees. They are there at the prerogative at the pleasure of the mayor. That's why I picked them. That was my prerogative. You have your opinion as to who you think would be a better member on those committees. I have a different opinion, and I'm sorry we don't agree on that. And I have nothing more to say on it.
Move to approve recommendation of mayors for committee appointments.
Second.
I would just like to interject a comment. I'm going to be voting no, and it has absolutely no reflection on anybody that the mayor has appointed. But I do think it is a little bit, and I understand we have a different mayor and all that, but I do think it's a little bit of a bait and switch to go to a citizen and say, will you volunteer, will you spend the time, and are you able to commit 3 years to this? And if you're not able to commit 3 years to this, then we need to go to get somebody else. And then when they agree to do that, for whatever reason, the rug is pulled out from under them. I'm afraid that will have a chilling effect on people volunteering in the future. So I do think there's a way to get the vast majority of the new mayor's appointments on right now. And then over time, some other ones. I have absolutely no problem with replacing people whose term has expired. And if the mayor wants to reappoint those people, that's fine too. But I do have a problem with asking somebody to serve for a particular term of time and then removing that from them. So I'll be voting no.
Can I respond on one thing there?
Sure.
And again, if the mayor doesn't have that prerogative, then maybe they need to change the language in the appointment procedures, which does say again, and I'm going to repeat it one more time, the mayor shall have the authority to withdraw any previously made and approved appointment. And the appointment of such person shall be terminated upon such withdrawal. That's what it says in our appointment procedures. I don't think that I did anything wrong by removing anybody from the committee and picking a person of my choice. It happens all the time in government, whether it be city government, state government, national government. Someone new comes on board, new appointments are made. And I'm exercising that right.
And I'll just respond briefly to that. And that's true as far as it goes, but it says for the good of the city of Mitchell. And if the ordinance simply said that people serve at the pleasure of the mayor and you can replace them anytime, I would have no problem. The problem I have is there is then the stigma of Mel Olson was on a committee. Mel Olson was removed from the committee before his term because Mel Olson is not good for the city of Mitchell. I think, frankly, if somebody wanted to push it, there would be an action for defamation there. That's my concern. So if we want to change the ordinance to simply people serve at the pleasure of the mayor, that's fine. Then there's no reason for terms.
You know, I understand what you're saying, Mel, and I respect your opinion. And again, it goes back to why I said I anguished over these appointments for hours. I did not take it lightly. You know, again, it was my opinion that these people would be serving in those capacities in and at the best interest of the people of Mitchell. I don't know how to say it any different.
Right. And again, I want to make clear, I'm not making any judgment, good or bad, on the people you're appointing to replace. My only concern is what I said before.
And I agree with that. I have no qualms. I'm sure that all of the people that you wanted to appoint are fabulous people, but I too have a problem with us pulling the rug out on people that have been made the commitment and have invested at least 1, some 2 years into these committees, and to then have them just. I happened to talk to Mike Blauled's wife. He was golfing when I called. We didn't get the committee appointments with our packet when they came out, and so I requested that. So I didn't have a chance to really make some calls. But I do know that Libby said that Mike was completely shocked when he was taken off of a committee that he'd just been appointed chair of. So, and I just, I feel like you have to do more than look at the people that you've known a long time and people who have, who are whatever, have attorneys or have served on committees or whatever. We have to also look at what commitment they have to those committees. I think that there's a reason that some of these people are serving in the capacities that they are. I keep coming back to Mike Blaulet, and I come back to Greg McCurry. Those two people have vested interest. They bring a huge amount to those committees, and I dare say that the people that they're serving with would say they have a value that they bring to those committees. And I have a really hard time just having you waltz in and say, well, I'm going to replace them with someone who I've known for a really long time who wanted to serve. Well, fine, but let's find another way and let them finish out their term. And once again, nothing against the people. In fact, the ones that I know are outstanding human beings. And so it's not that, but I do feel strongly that that we need to let the people that have committed to serve these terms allow them to do that. So I too will be voting no.
And however this vote goes, I think that ordinance needs to be revisited so it's clear that people, serve at the pleasure of the mayor. So there is no suggestion of a pejorative. I serve on
I think it goes both ways, though, Mel. I think it goes with the best interest of the people of Mitchell and at the pleasure of the mayor. And I think I implemented both aspects of that when I made my decisions. I don't know what else I can say.
Well, the difficulty is people who have been removed in the past have been removed because they've had trouble with the law. And there really has been no one else removed in the middle of a term. People have resigned, of course. People have moved away. But there really has been no other person removed in the middle of a term except for trouble with the law. So if we want to make it just at the will of the mayor, I have no problem with that. But my problem is with the second part, where the reason the person is removed is in the best interest of the city of Mitchell. So,
Call the question.
If you change the ordinance.
I call the question.
Okay.
Have a second to the motion?
second.
I second it.
We need to have a roll call here on this?
Well, first we voice vote on stop and discussion, then we vote. So the first vote is whether or not we're going to quit talking.
That's correct. Is there a motion then?
Yeah, we have.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now do the rules.
Now we vote.
Do a roll call.
Smith,
No.
Charks,
No.
Allen,
Aye.
Barrington,
No.
Dosher,
Aye.
Tronis, Rice,
Aye.
Olson,
No.
4-4 vote.
You get to vote, Mr. Mayor.
vote that we accept my appointees as noted.
Mayor, could I make a comment regarding changing the ordinance?
Pardon?
May I make a comment regarding changing the ordinance? Regarding changing the ordinance to pleasure.
1 minute, go ahead.
Oh, it takes 10 seconds. The mayor takes an oath to support the best interests of the city, so it's implied anyway. You really don't gain anything by removing that, in my view.
Well, it may mean nothing to you, but it certainly does mean something to the individuals being removed. And I think if it doesn't mean anything, we can take it out and remove the pejorative.
Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda. Items, does anyone from the council want to remove an item from the consent agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Public.
Yeah.
Need to ask the public if there's anything they like to.
Is there any public comment on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Isn't there a roll call vote on that?
Okay, roll call vote.
Smith,
Aye.
Charts,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Citizen input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, please come forward to the podium and state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, Hugh Holmes of American Legion Post 18. We would like to see a decision being made about our south wall, what's going to happen to it here in the near future. We really would like to have it done before Corn Palace days, but that probably won't happen. But somewhere down the future, we'd like to get some type of discussion going again and get a decision made, go from there. Thank you, sir.
And Hugh, you had, I know this is just for discussion, but when you were up here last time, you came up with a couple options as far as the American Legion. Are you pretty much still committed or want the mural is nothing that you excites
No.
you, but it's the
EFSI, I think that's correct. ESFI?
okay.
That's right. Okay, thank you. But I'd like to see that, and most of us would like to see that. It would just look better, and depends upon what City Hall does, stay here, get repaired, or move down the street. If you start putting paintings and murals down there, you know, it's going to be covered up. So then I have to redo it. But let's try to do it right the first time. Does that make sense? Then we don't waste any money. That's a key thing. That's for me.
Okay. I was just making sure that you guys were still kind of committed to the option that you were before.
We are, very much.
You do not want the mural.
No, man.
And I think that one of the things, if I'm not mistaken, the mural was because the thought process that we'd build the somewhat proposed city hall there, I think 2 stories high.
Correct.
Okay, and I just keep that in mind because I think the 2-story high city hall probably ain't going to happen in my personal. I mean, that's just me, but I think we've seen the number. We all know when you build up, it costs more than build spread out. So I'm just saying when we get to that point, I don't know if that mural will ever be covered up to some point. So just thought, food for thought.
Thank you.
Well, I was just going to bring up too, Mayor, that the report that we got back, again, just it's still warm because it's so new. But it did indicate in there just to straight go at the tuck point of the existing masonry. And it looks like they had a really good report, I guess, in depth. And I think it's not fair to these guys sitting out here. They need to at least see it. But the report that came back from Short, Elliott, and Hendrickson indicated that the tuck pointing of existing masonry on the south side was an estimate cost of 12 to 15. Of course, now that's again, that's just taking care of the existing wall as it sits. And then the additional waterproofing 8 to 12. So you got somewhere between 20 to 27 is what the report came back here. And I don't even know if the mayor's had a chance to review it yet because you came back from out west. So anyway, again, I just wanted to point that out. Did you give them a copy?
I just gave them my copy,
Okay.
so they have one now.
Stephanie, have we had any study on what the building we took down caused damage to the Legion and what's just normal wear and tear on the Legion building?
Yep, that's included in the report as you go farther in. Somewhere, like I said, I've had about as much time as you guys to review it. So somewhere in here when I was reading, it did state that, these are the photos of the wall.
While she's looking, I would make the point, it's a little unfair to talk about wear and tear and maintenance the American Legion should do when there was a building there and you couldn't get to the wall.
What about the wall that was exposed while the building was there?
Well, that's a different point.
I think more importantly, they brought it up, and we have been discussing this, and they brought it up with public input. I think now it needs to go on the agenda so we can start making some decisions. And it might be a little premature because it might roll right into the budget time, but we're only a week away. So we can't drag them on forever. So I would say, Mayor, if you want to put that on the agenda, and if it's just for discussion, great, but we may have to start bringing some options up and seeing if there's a way of partnering and doing some other things to try to get it accomplished.
I guess I would like to have it put in the budget process and have the American Legion invited like all these other people to make their case of, why we should pay all of it or we should pay half of it or whatever the amount is. It seems to me if we're going to do anything, this is the perfect time to include it in the budget and the perfect time for them to state their case. So I guess I would like to approach it that way, and then if we decide to do something else, we decide to do something else, but as long as we're doing the budget.
Stephanie, didn't you say it here 2 weeks ago that should be a 2015 item instead of a 2016?
My comment was going to just be, I believe when the original request came to the city council, it was for this year. Although if you still wanted to hear it during the 2016 budget hearing, I can certainly schedule that, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that their request was for 2015 versus 16, which would then put it as a contingency item.
Contingency,
Well, maybe what we can do is let the mayor and Stephanie kind of talk about it, and if you want to put it on the budget, mayor, do it. If not, get it on the next agenda.
What could be on the budget hearing?
It might be appropriate to talk about it at the budget.
hearings. And then that we can state at that time what we want to do with it.
That is true.
We expedite it. Then we actually put it on.
That is
Make a
true.
decision.
Because it is going to tie together with several other things that
Correct.
potentially could come into play. That we will be talking about.
I think this, Councilman Olson is have him come and do a presentation at our budget hearing. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Committee report.
The Finance Committee met this evening at 6:35. Had a few items on the agenda. The first one was the review of the allocation request for 2016, and Stephanie Michelle put together a nice report that goes back 10 years that indicated all of the different fund or businesses and nonprofits that we have funded in the past years, and then also what the request was for 2016. It was decided that if anybody wanted to increase their request, they could do so in person instead of just on the letter that they had sent in. So that invitation will be going out, and we'll see who would like to come and visit with us. The second thing was the cost review of City Hall and the Rec Center assessments. Again, it's a very new report. We just received it today. Stephanie hit some highlights of what the cost would be as far as the current City Hall building, bringing it up to code, and kind of gave a low dollar amount of around $1 million to a high of $1.6 million. And same thing with the Rec Center of addressing some of the issues, including the roof and the inside, and with or without the existing pool. And so we've got more discussion to be had on that after we review it and bring it up during the budget hearings. Tim McGannon gave us an update on the public works, and within a week, the decision was made, and I think it was a very good decision that we put the brakes on a major project on Sanborn until we can afford to do all of the sewer and the water and the infrastructure. Have a huge issue with drainage, and when we have a downpour, we've got a holding pond sitting in the middle of one of our major roads in Mitchell. And so we're going to get a study, or at least recommended from Tim that we do a study, and then hold off on the STIP funds, and then maybe take a look at 3 projects and the timing of them during our budget hearing of either Matty Street, 5th from Maine to Burr, and then Sanborn. So we will gather more information and have more discussion next week. Then there was a preliminary report on Toby Morris, which works for Doherty, which is very familiar with municipalities and other governmental agencies. And it kind of is taking a look at all of our finances, including our debt and our TIFs and our operation costs and percentages. And initial report is it looks like we're doing very well, but there's a possibility of maybe forming a smaller committee and getting with Toby when we get the full report, and then making that presentation to the council, which will be probably in a few months, are you anticipating? But it's good that initially it looks like we're sitting fairly decent as far as debt load is considered, and that's always a personal opinion, I guess. But from them, they said it in comparison to our peers, we're doing real well. And then we had other requests information for budget hearings that we went through again, just kind of getting things lined up. I think this has been very advantageous to start walking through this instead of hitting us right away on Monday at 3 o'clock. So appreciate everybody taking time to come in an hour and let Stephanie update us. And then the financing of the indoor pool was our final discussion, and we're probably going to need to bring some numbers up to date. Stephanie's going to find out from our architect that we originally worked with is the numbers still look reasonable, because it is dated from October of last year, and then also some discussion of the hotel bid and how that would affect and possible lease financing for the bonds for the remaining portion. So those were the items, and we adjourned at 7:29.
I would entertain a motion to approve the committee report.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next, I would entertain a motion of the city council to recess and sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The first item for the Board of Adjustment is setting the dates for hearings. I would entertain a motion to set the date for 8/17/2015 for the Board of Adjustment hearings as listed on the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item is a hearing on the application of Lamar Advertising and owners Vidama Sanitation Incorporated for a conditional use permit for an off-premise sign or billboard to have a sign face area of 381 square feet, which exceeds the 300 square feet area requirement, located at 1805 South Raleigh Street, legally described as Lot 8A, Block 8, Morning View Edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. This was tabled from the July 20th, 2015 City Council meeting.
As you probably took a note that in the Planning Commission, at their last regular meeting, they considered this request and did recommend approval of this this conditional use permit. Just to remind you, what you had this before you last time, but the Planning Commission tabled it at their last meeting pending the outcome of the variance. Well, now that it's come back and it's there as well, the Planning Commission, there's all kinds of background information in there as well. You may recall that they're going to move this a little closer to the one that is on Raleigh Street, but that's a variance issue. That's already been resolved. This one is more just strictly dealing with the size. Anything over 300 square feet, but less than 600 square feet requires a conditional use permit. What the applicant is requesting is 381 square feet.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I would entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Those, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Action on Resolution 3285. Item number 15 on the agenda is the approval of Resolution number 3285, a plat of lots 2A and 2B, a subdivision of previously platted Lot 2, Block 22, Van Epps, First Edition to the City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 3285.
I would direct your attention to the Planning Commission minutes too. You would see this one's a little bit unique, where the Planning Commission considered this plat. Basically what the individual wishes to do is, currently she has a parcel that has two houses on it. It's right in the corner of Raleigh and Havens. There's two there, and the applicant submitted a plat that subdivided them into two so that she could sell the houses separately. Well, the result of that would be is then what would also be part of that would be she'd have to also later down request a variance because the lot size would be too small. So it's kind of how do you get what come first, because you can't advertise a variance until you know what you're separating them into. And so that was something that we explained to the Planning Commission, that this is basically is just the plat at this point. Now whether something would ever happen, the variance would have to come at a later time. The code says is once you subdivide in this district, it has to be at least a 60 feet width. Well, as you can see, the plats would be separate them into smaller parcels. So the Planning Commission actually denied this plat. However, it's your prerogative, since you're the governing body, to have you before you. So
what are the options as far as, so you can't get two houses and 120 feet frontage, but the two houses are there now anyway, so they can't ever sell them, or can't ever?
Yeah, my understanding.
What are the options?
Well, either sell them as one legal description, two houses on one legal description. Then that's what she's not wants to do that.
So there's two houses there.
There's two houses, and
do
so
they got two separate
separate
meters for sewer and water?
Yeah, I'll let her speak to you. I'll let her explain her situation better than I.
Between a rock and a hard place, aren't you?
But what are you going to do with that 39-foot lot? You're going to ask for variances to do other things?
Well, it's considered one lot, and then there's two houses there. So simply what I just want to do is split it so I can sell the houses separate instead of trying to sell two houses at one time.
So at some point in the past, we allowed two houses to be built on just 80-some feet frontage?
I just want to get clear. So you're saying now that if I want to buy one house, I have to buy them both?
Yes.
Right now.
It's considered one lot right now.
Like they made a garage into a house.
And they've been like that. We bought them in the early 90s on a contract for deed, both of them, but I don't.
So what do you do with two houses?
Well, I've been renting them out.
Oh, I see.
Myself, and I lived in the one for forever. So I don't know. I'm just trying to split them so I can just sell them separate.
So they've been for sale for quite some time. I've driven by there just
I
every
tried to
day.
sell them both together.
Is that what
the past year?
It's been on the market for a whole year?
Yeah. Well, I haven't really listed it with a realtor yet, but I'm planning on it.
Okay. But there has been a for sale sign out there for over a year.
Yeah, by owner.
Yeah.
So what do we do in 2 years when someone wants to sell it again and it's a 30-some foot lot?
And they want a variance because they want to put a garage or they want to do something else with it. And that's the lot size is what really bothers me. You're going to be dealing with this issue again.
I thought Dan had a good question. Are they on a single meter,
No, they're separate.
separate meters?
Separate lines and everything that go into it.
Electric, separate
Wow.
sewer, water.
2 houses.
That's 2 houses.
I have that in my garage. I have separate meters.
Pardon?
May I address the council briefly? May I address the council briefly?
Yes.
Thank you so much. If this was divided into 2 lots,
I believe the smaller lot would become a non-conforming use as it exists. And it can be sold, but it's under the code as a non-conforming use unless and until variances are granted. If variances are not granted, it remains a non-conforming use. If it burns down, it can't be reconstructed as such. If they never get a variance, but it's been the policy over the years, whenever possible, for the city to separate, and this was a common occurrence in, I think, the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, and this must be one of the few that's left over, and oftentimes the problem you run into is, creates a problem, is a single service was run to 2 houses. Here, apparently, we have individual services. I don't know if Tim knows, or Tim has been involved in these for years and years and years. What the policy of the city has been.
Well, I would say if there's a meter on each house and a sewer in each, it's 2 houses. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Second.
So discussion, if we do that, then is this going to come back for variance for this?
Oh, yeah.
And
It's not your last time you're going to see this.
I understand that, but possible.
not impossible, but whether it's possible. No.
Yes.
It's not necessary, but it's possible.
You know, and I agree, it's tough to live with legacy stuff. I mean, how about the future owners? How do we deal with them as far as knowing
Well,
what they're getting?
see, if it's sold, then a variance is almost going to have to be part of the sell, I think, right? Or in order even to make it done, so that nobody's going to buy a house that you're going to come back and say, no, you can't keep it there.
If it's sold for a contractor, leave that one as it is. If it's sold on a
Regular sale.
mortgage,
Yep.
or somebody pays cash for it, it's not an issue.
So we had a motion in a second. Are all those in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries. Action on resolution 3286. Item number 16 on the agenda is approval of resolution 3286, a plat of lot 5A, block 7 of Westwood First Edition, a subdivision of the southwest 1/4 of section 16, township 103 north, range 60 west of the 5th PM, city of Mitchell, Davison County, South Dakota.
Again, this was presented to the Planning Commission at their last regular meeting and have recommended approval. This is basically out in the bypass area, kind of by the storage units and that kind of area.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Quick comment, thanks for the GIS maps and the stuff.
Next on the agenda is approval of resolution 3287, a plat of lot B, block 4 of Westwood First Edition in West 21st Avenue, a subdivision of tract A2 in block 4 of Westwood First Edition in the northwest 1/4 of section 16, township 103 north, range 60 west of Davison County, South Dakota.
This is the plat to correct that marathon 3-paragraph legal that you had the last time. To actually do that and to extend that 21st Avenue for those apartments. Because normally what happens, a lot of times people don't plat them until they know the process has gone through. So that's the reason why this is basically it's the plat, the legal that you approved a while back. Does that make?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval of resolution number 3288, a plat of Lot E of CJM Second Edition, a subdivision of the northwest one quarter of Section 32, Township 104 North, Range 60 West of Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this one is presented, was presented at the last planning commission meeting and have recommended approval. My understanding, since this is out of the city limits, the county planning commission will hear this tomorrow, as well as subsequently the county commission as well. This is just kind of north of Almond Street, right in the corner in that area, outside the city limits.
North of Ullman, outside, okay.
Yep, north, way up there in the corner, there.
By life saying, I see.
A little further north.
This map is really hard to read, I feel like.
Kind of right on the corner of 70th and that area.
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action number 19 on the agenda is approval of resolution number 3289, a plat of lots 1D and 2D, a subdivision of Block D and Westview Addition in the southeast one quarter of Section 20, Township 103 North, Range 60 west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this one's kind of in the west of the park. Mitchell Plastics, excuse me, and they wish to just basically subdivide those into two parcels so that for a later sale at some point. And this did go to the planning commission and have recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to approve resolution number 3290, a resolution authorizing civil action to collect on a police department contract.
Go ahead, Lyndon.
This is in reference to the contract that we have new officers sign when they go to basic training. If you recall, a couple years ago, I think it was the council enacted this, so that when we send an officer off to training, we set this amount. It's not a penalty, but it's a liquidated damage amount of $15,000 they owe us unless they stay for 3.5 years past their time when they get out of basic training. What we had was an officer leave prior to that, and he owes us $9,500 according to this contract.
Is that prorated?
It's prorated.
For a certain amount of time that they serve?
Yeah, they work off, it's $500 a month, gets subtracted from this.
What does it cost us to train an officer? What does the city pay?
Well, just at basic training or the whole?
Equal $15,000, equal or exceed $15,000?
Exceeds, yeah, far exceeds.
So is he refusing to pay that we have to go through this, or
Right.
is this a process we have to go through?
Well, we gave him notice, we have not heard anything else, so.
Did he know before he left?
He signed the contract,
Okay.
and the day he left, I did give him formal notification in writing how much he owes us.
Out of curiosity, did he go to a larger city to?
He got out of law enforcement altogether.
Oh,
He went to
yeah.
work for the wind energy and far exceeded his income of what he was making. So.
The reason that it's on here, I think the explanation explains, city attorneys are not allowed to file civil actions without the consent of the city council. I think that's plenty obvious why.
Is this the first time this has gone into effect?
It is.
That
we've had to go back now to try and collect.
Try and collect?
That's correct.
We've had others leave that have paid,
No, we've had nobody leave.
so this is the first time
Right.
that we've had somebody leave.
Well, they signed
Under
a contract.
Right.
If he left to gain a lot more income, then I move to approve.
Yeah.
Second. Can't tell you how it'll come out, but file the action, maybe get a judgment.
We'll see how it turns out.
Maybe we can collect, maybe we can.
All
You know
those
the
in favor
drill.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2519, supplemental appropriations. I would entertain a motion to approve. I guess first of all, I need to ask, is there any public comment on ordinance 2519?
I'm just wondering, are we actually going to do the West End Bridge now, or?
Well, this is the West End Bridge that's already
Done.
completed.
Okay, all right. Which one is not done then?
The pedestrian.
Okay, the pedestrian, okay.
Move to place ordinance number 2519 on second reading.
Please call, roll call, please.
We have to,
Oh,
Move to adopt.
Oh,
Did we vote?
We vote first,
Yeah.
putting on second reading, then we do adoption. We have to vote.
Voice vote on second reading.
all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Roll call?
Smith,
Aye.
Parks,
aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the first reading of ordinance number 2520, an ordinance to rezone the following real property legally described as Tract 1C, Tract 1E, Tract 1F, Starlight Estates in the northeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of Section 34, Township 103 North, Range 60 West, west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Mayor and council, if you had an opportunity to review the planning commission minutes, you would see that a couple things happened at this one as well. One, and it's my fault, I published it in error. I published it instead of saying July 27th, I published it as June 27th. It was my error. The letters were wrong, and as well as the public notice. So subsequent to that, we resent letters out and redid it. It was human error on my part. So what happened is then when the planning commission, it got scheduled before the planning commission, then the chair, per advice of city or council, or legal counsel, I should say, what the chairman decided to do is at least if those people who were there to give them an opportunity to share some input regarding this rezoning. However, again, because of the publication, they tabled the request, which in hindsight was probably a good idea because there was some information about this project that probably will be forthcoming at their next planning commission meeting. Basically what this is what it is some people who are, there's a party who is interested in purchasing 1C, 1F, and 1E. The zoning of 1C is currently Highway Business District, 1F and 1E is currently part of the South Point Planned Development District. So what would happen is, what we have before you is an application for a construction of a 60-unit assisted living complex. You saw a site plan of that in your packet as well, and that's a proposed site plan that's still up for some modification yet, from my understanding. And so at the next planning commission meeting, my understanding is the project manager, the owner of the new owner of the property will be there, as well as a representative of South Point to kind of see how this all plays together within their master plan as well. So just to kind of, if you wanted to keep this on track, again, the planning commission will hold its formal hearing on the rezoning and the conditional use permit, which you've set a date for, at their next meeting. With the first reading kind of keeps the process. Again, if they are not prepared to give you a recommendation at the next planning commission meeting, you could always postpone second reading, further down there if that's another option for you as well. Again, we're going to have call in some people to come in so that this also too, for the property owners that are near there, we'll also have that opportunity to hear from the developers and other parties as well.
Neil,
So.
can you just kind of give me, I always need to get my bearings, and I'm thinking you've got Cabela's on one side, you've got Menards. Is there a car wash? Where's Leader?
Car wash would be on 14.
Okay, and then is Leader Hardware then?
And on tract 1B.
And so then this is just west?
Well, so this is an older aerial, so it may not have the construction on there.
Yeah, I see that. That's
Yeah,
why I'm
yep.
trying to get my bearings.
So 1C, yeah, the rezoning is for C, E, and F.
Right. So what happens to 23?
That is privately owned. It's not part of this.
Okay.
That one stays as the urban development district. That is not part of this.
Neil, I've had some people call me about Urbana Drive there. And that's a gravel street.
Correct.
And
Yeah, we had a
that's their concern too.
Yeah, that was brought up, and then we'll talk about that at the next meeting. But that is not a city street. It's not actually even in the city limits. So we'll probably have to have a conversation about that as well, because when the developer comes in, I think what we'll see is how are they going to access that or not, and then we'll see what the planning commission gives you some recommendations.
Different owners on different sides of the street? Are they?
Well, 1F would be part of the development.
1F is in the city of Mitchell?
No. Well, yes. The city limits is right on Urbana Drive.
Okay, anything west of their lot 1, 2, and 3 is
Is
in
out of the city
county.
limits. Anything on the other side, except 23, is out of the city limits.
I think I'd like to wait until after the planning committee takes a look at it and takes all the testimony and then go from there.
Move the table until August 17th.
Okay, just so that you know, you moved it back another 3 weeks. Okay, just so that you're aware.
Second.
All those in favor?
This is, and then this request, 25, is for rezoning?
Yeah.
The one thing about it, and I understand what we're saying, what Neil's pointing out, that we're removing it back now 3 weeks. We can prove first reading right now.
Yeah.
And table second reading if we have to.
I just want to make sure you know.
At least give them their day in court.
You know what I mean? By doing this, we're not approving, we're just doing that first step, is what I'm trying to get at. So I think what Neil is slightly trying to say is, approve this one here, if you guys want to do the next one, table
Because if
second
we
reading,
approve it,
not
then
first.
everybody can do their talking on it and
Yes.
everything else, and it can come back and we can change it or send it wherever we need to send it, because we wouldn't have a second reading.
Right, I understand what you're saying, but when you do that, then I go to the planning commission and I say, well, the city council, they already think that this is a good idea. And this way, we hold our decision in abeyance, and then if the planning commission goes, no, we're not going to do it, then we just kill it at the next meeting. And if they give it their wholehearted support, I don't see how 2 weeks hurts a project. But
Or does it?
I don't know.
I mean, we're into August already. Did they indicate at the meeting that they were trying to do a fall project?
The realtor who's involved in this is here.
And his answer is yes.
I just want to make sure that you're aware of that.
I tell you boys right now, 2 weeks is a lot.
You are trying to do a fall project?
Is the,
Okay, we have a motion.
is the opposite side of this applicant, owner of all the outside property, willing to pay special assessments?
Like I said, we didn't have that conversation.
Well, we can vote tabling up or down, and if we vote it down, then we have some other options, so it doesn't.
I just think by doing the first reading, and then the planning commission in 2 weeks will have all their additional information come back to our second reading. If we don't like what we hear, then we can table or deny or
We
whatever.
have done that before.
Well,
And I understand what you're saying, Mel, that people might assume that. I guess that's a bad
Right.
assumption, because I don't
And they
assume
might,
that.
but I don't think that really applies in this particular case.
Let me put my legislative hat on. We have 2 choices at this point, because it's been moved in second.
Yep.
3 choices. We can withdraw the motion, or you can have a substitute motion, or the cleanest way is to vote this down and then to do something else.
So
I guess
we can vote on your motion. I'm going to vote no for it. and
That
I'm
would
gonna-
be great.
and we're
Let's
gonna-
vote and move
I'm gonna
on.
go first reading.
You voted, your motion is to table this.
Yep.
And I'm sticking with that, and I'll be voting not to table.
Thanks for that
Because
clarification.
we've discussed it out.
Yeah.
We have a motion to table this then?
Yeah.
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay.
Not tabled.
Motion to approve on first reading.
Second.
Motion carried.
No,
No,
we gotta vote on that.
We're gonna vote.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, motion carried. Item number 23 on the agenda is first reading of ordinance number 2522, an ordinance to amend bid number 2 by modification of district. There are 2 items that need to be corrected on the agenda. The Corn Palace Hotel needs to be removed from the list, and the construction price listed in item number 4 should be $8 million, not $6 million.
May I have 3 minutes to address the council, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'd request that this be tabled. In studying this matter this afternoon, and at this point, I'd like to piggyback upon a comment made earlier by Councilperson Olson. What if an intervening event of any kind, imagined or imaginable now, knowable now, predictable now, or otherwise, would prevent the building of this project? We're putting on a tax to collect money for it now, and we're at very preliminary stages. When do we have a project, if you will? And that was a significant question, A, that led to B, that led to C, that led to a question mark. And that question mark was our status of our bonds under the 3-year rule. And I did resolve, I think I left a message on your machine, Jeff, that explained that. My first objective is to find out the 3-year rule. And that was a dim light bulb that came on in the back of my head from years ago, and it had been explained to me numerous times years ago. It never occurred to me until the circularity of thinking. I called Attorney Meyer Henry, and he returned my call from a golf course. He was playing on I told the secretary what my issue was, or his legal assistant. She texted him. He was at a benefit golf tournament, but he returned my call. And after talking with him, and the circularity of our conversation led to potential other issues, though I think we're good on what on the 3-year rule, because there was 2 issues, and I had not forgot that until after I found out what the rule was. Then I came over and talked to Michelle. The rule is we spend 85% of our money in 3 years, or we risk, and there's some provisos under that IRS provision, and I can't recall what those are. I read them years ago. But on the first issue, there was a $10 million issue, and that was split out. Now it's perfectly clear to me, and I recall that was split out to make them bank qualified. Bank qualified means that a bank can hold them in their own portfolio if a municipality issues less than $10 million of tax-free bonds per year, whether you're Mount Vernon or New York City. So 10 million, if it's 10 million, one or more, they're not bank qualified. That first issue was 10 million. That was December. My recollection was it was sometime late in 12 that was done, but I couldn't remember when I talked to Attorney Meyer Henry. After talking to Michelle, she happened to be just working on that very topic, and that the 3.9, in addition to the 10, was done in January of 13, which leads us to January of 14. Now, there are some provisos for extending this out for to 5 years. I don't know exactly what.
One more minute left, Carl.
Okay, 1 more minute. And so I asked Attorney Meyer Henry if he would, I said, I think you need to come over and look at our stuff. And he said, I can do that. And I think that the need for us to have him look at our stuff, our finances, and our bonding status is important. The penalty for violation of that is your bonds lose their tax-free status. That's significant. And he said he can do that this week. And I think before we move any further on this bid, because we don't want to have a tax being collected for something that is not yet a project, if you will. And when does it become a project? I know at the time you sign a contract for it is. Where it is before that, I don't know. But that was a concern of mine, and there's quite a bit of time, up to 30 months.
Stop there, Carl, right now.
Okay, fine. Anyway, I'd move that just to table that for now. So, Attorney Meyer Henry.
Any further discussion on this?
Yeah, I have a question, because when we talk of other cities that have done bids, there are other cities that have done bids that have no intent or have no projects at all for spending the money.
No.
They don't even have a project in mind yet, and they're collecting the money. So is that just a concern of yours or a legal issue?
It's a legal issue.
Well, how do other cities then have bids and they're just keeping the money for some future project that they haven't.
And that's correct. In reality, what's happening here, Steve, is it's part of the payback is going against the existing bonds that we did.
Right.
And so it is identified. So you can do a hotel bid and just collect the money and use it like you want. But since this is tied
To an
to a
existing
bond,
bid?
to an existing bid,
Okay.
and it's the same thing, there's another rule that extends it, is the hotel owners, once it's assigned to a bond,
Project.
a project and a bond, they cannot vote it out. Where if it was just the regular, just collecting for the fun of collecting it and see what we want to spend it for, they can end that at any point in time. But
Okay.
once it's tied into a bond, I think it's going to be very important to get Meyer Henry over here and just research
Okay,
that.
and so then part of that is you have the 3 and 5 year rule of that you have to be spending the money toward that project, and if you deviate from that, we can get into trouble.
Okay. We have good reason for requesting that, I do believe.
That goes back to big city corruption where you
bet.
Float bonds and then you just use money. The question I have, and maybe Jeff, you can answer this. The bid is limited in its amount, right?
Correct.
So I guess what I'm getting at is we couldn't sort of, jumpstart it today and suck in a couple of 100,000 extra, right? And when you hit your limit, you're done.
Right.
Yeah.
You would just get the money quicker, but not more money.
And that's how that first one was set up, Mel. It was basically, they're going to collect it 50 cents until the 400,000 is paid for on the ice. So there was tied in, but there was nothing that was on the other 50 cents with the sports authority. Hopefully you collect as much as you can, but there is ways of setting it up where there is a stopgap, and that was, so you're right. There's ways of doing it on both ways. So.
Well, I guess I'm going to move to table 2521. It's not like we're digging dirt or anything.
Second.
Motion to table 2521 till the next meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign, carried. Action. Next item on the agenda is action to approve the state financial assistance agreement.
No, authorization for the Homeland Security grant.
Security grant.
24.
Number 24.
Out of order here, what here? 24. Yeah, next on the agenda is action to approve the state financial assistance agreement for 2014 snow removal equipment.
No.
No.
Authorization to apply for a Homeland Security
Something's
grant.
goofy out of here then.
As a fellow glasses wearer, I
Yeah.
sympathize with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, that, somebody just misnumbered this somehow.
Something to get out of whack here.
24. No, that's what you've been reading.
That's what I was reading. Yeah.
Well, maybe Jeff as president could just read the next one and save your eyes. And
Thank you, Mel. Appreciate that. Jeff?
All right, we'll move on to number 24, which is action to approve authorization to apply for Homeland Security, and it's on page 136.
I'm seeking permission to apply for Homeland Security grant for 2 different purposes. One of them is for a vehicle barrier system around the public safety building, specifically in the area of the 911 center. That would prevent vehicles from basically driving through the wall there. And the other portion of it is for some portable radios, which are like a multi-band portable radio, which would allow our supervisors to talk with many different agencies, which now we need like 2 or 3 different radios. This one radio does it all. So. And the total requested is $100,500. That's just an estimate. Because of these amounts, they would have to, more than likely, we'd have to get bids for this, and this would be 100% reimbursement if it would be allowed. And if you do approve it, there's also the potential it may be partially awarded instead of 100% awarded. So.
Linda, well, I was just going to say on 9/11, one of the difficulties was the police could talk to the police, the EMS could talk to them, the fire could talk to the fire, but nobody could talk to each other. Are we going to be able to talk to each other?
With these radios, yes. Yeah, one of the few portable radios that are out right now will be UHF, VHF, and digital, all in one radio, so.
I guess, I can understand the radios, but in Mitchell, South Dakota, are you really concerned that somebody's going to drive into the 911 center?
They could. It's a
Okay,
vulnerable spot.
if
because the way
you're that concerned on that, why do we have firefighters sitting outside on chairs? Aren't we concerned that somebody could run into them?
They could, but.
But we're not concerned about.
We are. Yeah, I mean, eventually we could go all the way around the building, but our initial.
And you really think that's necessary in Mitchell, South Dakota?
It was recommended through a Homeland Security assessment about 3 years ago. Okay, that's why we're following through with this.
They're willing to fund it.
I
understand
Yeah,
that.
money from the government's money from us.
I understand that totally.
It's a hub center for 6 counties. If it goes down, our 911 goes down.
If somebody cuts SDN line, you go down.
Not necessarily, well, they could in some of the other counties, yes. But in Mitchell, it would be our radio system, a lot of other things.
So the question is, if it's, you don't know how much is going to be funded.
Right.
You think it's going to be 100,000, you don't know if it's 10%.
It may not be any. There's only so much in South Dakota that's going to be awarded.
When did they award these?
You know, I don't know. It might be October, it could be first of the year, something like that.
So if you get the grant, doesn't mean you have to accept it. I mean, if they come back and say you only going to get.
Sure. Yep, you can turn it back, and then it could be re-awarded too.
Can we say we want the radios and we'll think about the other stuff?
Yeah, we could be awarded it, and I guess decide we don't want to do part of it.
You can apply for it.
Then you
award it,
turn them.
deny that part of it.
We just don't.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, we have to expend this money first and then get reimbursed. So if we don't ever expend it, we don't get reimbursed.
The radios are.
They say, yes, we got to spend the money for us to turn it like an invoice into.
Yeah.
So.
I thought everything was on FM. Isn't it?
Susan moved and I'll second.
And I just want to say briefly for the record, I'm going to vote for this, but I'm with Steve. I'm for the radios. I'm not for putting the barriers up.
I guess I don't know about, if we're that concerned about it, we should be taking other evasive actions also. Yep. Okay.
Motion to approve?
We got that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Next on the agenda is action to approve the state financial assistance agreement for 2014 snow removal equipment, tractor, and authorize Mayor Jerry Toomey as an authorized representative for the city of Mitchell. I would entertain a motion to approve the state financial assistance agreement.
My understanding is that this is for snow removal equipment, which we received last year. And,
We received the equipment?
the state and FAA went out and bid this for several communities, gave us our equipment. They're just getting around to collecting our local share.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I would entertain a motion to reset the date for the collection hearing for. Seems to be out of whack here. Let me back up. I would entertain a motion to reset the date for the collection hearing for work completed in 2014 and 2014 nuisances to August 17th, 2015.
You set this date at the last meeting, however, my understanding is that Terry was looking at the wrong calendar and put the wrong date. We have new letters that have gone out, so we just want to correct the date in the minutes, basically.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I would entertain a motion to set the date of August 24th to receive and consider bids for rock salt project number 2015-27 at 1:30 p.m. in the council chambers of the city.
Set the date.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Entertaining motion for the city council to enter into executive session as.
Nope, we got 28, yeah.
28, 29.
If you could find them.
I don't have that sheet.
Okay, I'll just pitch it here. Action to approve authorization to proceed with spending authority on the airport hangar road / parking lot, page 145. Tim?
And the main reason for this is it would ordinarily be an automatic supplement since at least 95%, 95 to 100% of this money will come from federal and state sources. Once the work is being contracted, the pay estimates will be approved by you. Once they're approved, they're submitted to the state, and within a week to 10 days, we get our money back. So we need the authority to spend it, and about 10 days later, we'll have the money back.
And this is the hangar road and parking lot at the airport.
Right.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion, those opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, number 29, action to set the date for August 24th, 2015 to receive and consider bids for AIP 26 Airport Access Road, or 26 feet, and parking lot rehabilitation at 1:30 p.m. in the council chambers of the city of Mitchell.
I have talked to the engineer about this project. I don't think anyone's going to get it all done before pheasant season, so what we talked about was any work that they open this year must be closed by a date certain prior to the pheasant season, and we're going to extend the completion date then into next spring and early summer. So we're going to try to not have it all torn up when all of our out-of-state folks are here.
Set the date.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried. Entertaining motion for the city council to enter into executive session as permitted by SDCL 1-25-2, preparing for contract negotiations or negotiating with employees or employee representatives. Motion to adjourn. Motion to move into executive session.
Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried.